people that want to learn and feel that they are developing in their work and have passion for what they do, the biotech industry really is best suited. You learn every day something new.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley, in partnership with Lomitech, and sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, and Birthright Excel. Welcome to another episode of 20-Minute Leaders. Today I have with me Dikla Czaczkes Akselbrad, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of PolyPid, a global clinical stage biopharmaceutical company focused on developing, manufacturing, and commercializing novel, locally administered therapies to improve surgical outcomes. Before joining PolyPid 7 years ago, she served as CFO at both Compugen and Packet Technologies and as Audit Manager at Ernst Young Israel. She holds an MBA in Finance and a BA in Accounting and Economics, both from Tel Aviv University, and is a certified public accountant in Israel. So, thank you very, very much for being here, and I'm really, really excited and honored to talk to you today all about, surgeries, bacteria, both from a financial standpoint, but also just from a world standpoint. Your journey is a fascinating one, and the work that you're doing today with PolyPid, I think, is so incredible. From what I was able to understand, it's so complicated, but I'm excited for you to dumb it down for me and share with me and my audience a little bit about what it is that all of you are doing, which literally is saving lives. So Dikla, maybe take me a little bit throughout your own journey and how you end up as the role of Executive Vice President and CFO of this company.
So to start with, I knew from very early on, from childhood, I want to be in this position. I want to be in leading position with companies that are meaningful and successful in many ways, successful economically, successful in terms of the environment that they are operating, employees. And I don't know exactly why, but for some reason I thought that having a strong financial background can open the door for me to get fairly quickly, fairly easily. Nothing is easily, but to get to those positions. And I started knowing that I have no intention to work in this occupation. I've started learning in university economics and accounting, and I registered to this BA knowing that I have no intention of becoming an accountant in a firm. I literally knew that, and I remember very strongly how at the first day in the interim I was working in one of the big five. It was at the time, now it's the big four or big three. It's changing very rapidly, and it was not the leading insurance company in Israel, and I was put in front of this book that looked like that, and I said, "This is the cash, check it." And this was the cue for me that this is not what Houston, we have a problem, I would say, and I transferred to Ernst Young to be with the high tech, and this was the 2000 before the bubble burst. It was the end of it was 1987, 88. Checkpoint were one of my clients. Deal Time that became shopping.com. DSPG, really the days of the early tech, and it was wonderful to see those companies, to see people in different positions of these companies, from CEO to bookkeeping, feeling passionate about what they do, and it was clear to me that I want to be part of this industry, and I've started in this area, but very quickly I moved on to the biotech. And for me, the biotech was in a way love at first sight, I would say. It's much more challenging. It's much more the processes are much longer term. It's not, you don't build a company in a year and in the year after you sell it for $1 billion. It's not happening in the biotech industry. You sometimes work for 10 years to get the product and a drug to approval. Not sometimes, usually this is the time. So you have to be much more patient. I'm joking and saying that you need to be able to deal with mania depressia, because some days you are in mania, everything looks like you're going to conquer the world, and a few days after things are not progressing, results are not looking good, and it's literally like that, almost sometimes on a day-to-day basis, sometimes on a week-to-week basis, and this is how the moods are changing, and for me it's so passionate to be in this position, because being a financial person and being a CFO, I could be in any company. I could be in gaming company, I could be in construction, I could be in insurance, I could be in banking, but being in biotech and being part of the team that the leading the company into developing drugs that could actually save that life and change situations that have been an unmet need for years. I'll give you an example. PolyPid is now in 2 phase 3 trials. The last stage for approval of a product with the FDA and the European authorities, for a product that we hope will show significant reduction of surgical site infection, SSI, a problem that has been around from early days. Infections are something that has been around forever and will continue to be around. Bacteria is there, and people are going to surgery, usually with 3 concerns. One, that there will be some complication in the operation, but they usually trust the surgeon that they've chosen, and they put themselves in his or her hand. They are afraid of complication and pain. And complications are usually infection, or in many cases are infection. And this could be a perfect surgery. Everything was done perfectly. The surgery room is perfect. Everything is perfect, but the bacteria is out there. It's on our skin, it's in the air, it's on the surgery, it's in the surgery room, it's on the surgeon's hand. And we can't really do anything from prevent it. What we can do is make sure we create a gatekeeper from the bacteria to grow along the incision. And this is...
So before we dive deeper into PolyPid and what the company does, take me back a little bit into your own entrance into biotech, because biotech is one of those verticals where there's a very high barrier of entry. You have to have a lot of expertise to understand it and to feel empowered by it. How coming from a financial background, what was your entrance into the biotech world like? Was it simply choosing to be a financial executive at a company that happens to be doing biotech, or was there some other connection that has led you to this?
So I'm joking that my mother has a degree in biology, and she was a biology teacher in high school. And my father has an economic degree, and he was a CEO in the food industry. And I had to please both, so I ended up finding myself in the biotech industry.
Amazing.
But to be more serious, I think that people that want to learn and feel that they are developing in their work and have passion for what they do, the biotech industry really is best suited. You learn every day something new. Biology is an area different from computer science that is not fully understood. There is more, and COVID now out there really teaches us a lesson about that. The unknown is greater than the known, which I think we cannot say the same about physics and math and computer science. Biology, there is still so much that is unknown. If we were, in terms of science, as developed as we are in computer science, probably we've solved most of the diseases. We're not there. We are getting there. A lot of influencers are saying that this is the decade of life science, of biology.
Right.
So being a part of this industry, being part of coming in the morning and learning something new about how our product is, what it's doing, it's not a question of whether it will sell.
Right.
We know it will sell. The question is whether it's work, whether it's work as we are hoping for, which is very different from
traditional.
Industry.
Yes,
you develop something. You develop something. You know you'll be able to solve it. You'll need more engineer hours. You'll need more things to fix and bag in this program, but you don't know if there will be a market for it. We know there will be a market.
Tell me a little bit about the role of the role of a financial executive within a biotech company, with all of these considerations in mind, right? Because here you don't necessarily, dealing with the same things that a traditional CFO of a startup would deal with. But what does this role include, really, both in the day-to-day, but also in the strategic long-term thinking?
So I'm quoting with someone much smarter than I that said that the CFO it doesn't stand for Chief Finance Officer in innovation company, but it stands for Chief Focus Officer. And it's very much the case. But I would add to that in the biotech industry, the one thing that is missing more than anything else is funding. Because this is a long journey, because this is a journey that will take years, you need to fund it along these years. And you need to create a strategy, a financing strategy that will support the company while it's private, and then while it's public, and then also while it's public, funding doesn't end at that point. You want to bring another product to the pipeline.
Right.
You want to go to cancer. You need to have a strategy for funding, and the relationship with the investors and the banks is something that is a day-to-day relationship.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So now going back to PolyPid, tell me a little bit more about, starting more with the pain point that PolyPid is trying to solve with what's happening today with site infections and surgery.
So today, if you look worldwide, you see that about 5% of the patient in average that goes to surgery will have some level of infection. And sometimes it's not. That is not. This 5%. These are infections that shouldn't ideally take place. Obviously, that's right.
These are infections that take place because of what reasons? Because
of the actual surgery. The surgery. Think about it very simplistically. Someone is having a surgery. The skin is cut. The muscles are cut. Sometimes the bone is cut, depending on where the surgery. This cut creates two things. On one hand, you cut the blood supply to the area. So you do not have blood supply to the area during surgery and a few days after. That means that your immune system cannot get to the area well and treat any intruders that are coming from the outer. So on one hand, you have an opportunity for the bacteria to go in. You opened the body, but you also stopped our defender, our immune system, to get into the area. And in a lot of surgery, you have some level of infection after that. It could be very simple. It could be some redness, some secretion from the wound, some fever, a patient gets antibiotics, and everything's well. But in other cases, it could lead to mortality and disability, especially in the big surgeries. And patients are also having some what we call risk factors. And those will be elderly people, smokers, people with high BMI and diabetes.
Right.
Those patients have higher risk for infection. And this could literally lead to disability and mortality.
Right. And so how is
what
PolyPid?
We are trying to. So So what we are doing is very cool, actually. Our founder and CTO, Dr. Noam Emanuel, has developed a concept, a platform that can encapsulate and release almost any drug locally. Think about an onion. His structure, we're talking about granule in the size of a salt that are structured from 10,000 layers. And if you think about an onion with 10,000 layers, that every few minutes the outer layer disintegrates and the drug is released. This is the matrix that we call Plex. This is our platform, our unique platform. We have over 100 patents around it. And what we've done initially is taking this platform and pairing it with antibiotics. So what's happening in the body? Patient is having a surgery, let's say open heart surgery, CABG surgery. Last stages of the surgery, the chest is open, everything is good. Now the surgeon is closing the incision. Before closing, they apply our Diplex 100. It looks like a paste. The drug looks like a paste very easily with the gloves. And gradually the antibiotic is released along the incision for 4 weeks. So every few minutes a new outer layer is disintegrate and the drug is released again and again and again. And this creates very high local concentration along the incision without influencing the microbiome, without any systemic exposure. So you have maximum exposure where you need it and nothing that goes into the whole body.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Now, tell me a little bit about how, length, how long does it take to build something like this? 100 patents, a really complicated solution. What is the life cycle of a company like PolyPid and where is it headed now? So
you're touching a very good point because it's taken us several years to first build the platform.
Wow.
I'm not talking now about product. Validate the platform in different indication. Also during these years having some collaboration with the large biotech companies, the US large biotech companies to test the platform in different application. And about 7 years ago we've decided to focus and establish our own pipeline. Initially, as I said, focusing on surgical site infection, and now we are very close to approval. We are in months' time from getting our top-line result and then submitting them to the FDA. Not just a few months ago, at the end of last year, we've announced our second in-line product that is pairing the platform with chemotherapy for brain tumor. Same concept, local chemotherapy, avoiding the systemic exposure of chemotherapy with all its side effects, as well as enhancing the therapy, which is what we are here for, to bring best-in-class therapy.
Wow, very, very cool. Now, Dikla, take me a little bit about your own personal journey again, and I'd like to understand you a little bit better from childhood. You mentioned that you knew that you wanted to be an executive in a company and that you thought the financial route would allow you to make that to barrier of entry. And I love how you're translating the CFO to Chief Focus Officer, not just dealing with the financials. But what really sparked your curiosity as a child that also led you to this understanding?
So I think I literally remember myself daydreaming, imagining myself in the chair that I'm sitting now. Now, of course, I didn't know what it would look like and what this chair will be and what this position, but I think I felt, or I knew what the feeling should be. What the feeling should be or might be, and I tried to visualize this journey as a child, and what really intrigued me was to be in a position where you can lead people, you could be part of a team, you could be in these points in a company that makes a difference. Makes a difference in the industry that I am, I think, which is the best. It actually saves lives. Who could say that what they're trying to do is saves lives? So that's very inspiring.
Right, and I think that obviously that answers the second question about the inspiration today. And what are a few words that you would use to describe yourself as you're going through your own journey?
So I would, I must say, I must start probably with persistency and creativity. And one will think that those two words somehow contradict themselves, but I think you have to be very consistent with your path, and clear with your path, with your life, you could say life journey, and very creative on the day-to-day. And for me, this is what I hope how I live my personal life and my career, always consistent and persistent on the long term and the path, but very creative on a day-to-day. And what I strive for, and most of the day I feel this way, is passion. To have passion with what I do. This is something that most of the day I can say I'm passionate about what I do. Not all, of course, but most of the day.
Well, it definitely comes across in how you describe what you're doing, and I wish for myself that when I'll describe what I'll be doing throughout my life, I'll do it with a similar passion and intentionality as you've just done in this last 20 minutes. And I really appreciate your time, Dikla, and thank you for making a positive impact. And I can't wait to see this product in action. Best of luck with the last milestones for getting this approved. And it sounds like this is going to make a tremendous impact on a lot of lives. And thank you for your time. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you very much. Same to you, and Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.